Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. Man. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gonna teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, and A.D. Drew. I must say, I am not holding the purple helmet today, but we will do our cigars. You know how that works. Welcome to episode 734 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, the show that's covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports for institutions large and small, from the NAIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Cavil, along with my co-hosts, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, and A.D. Drew. We're filming from our home studios and sending a signal live, as we always do, to honor the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, multi-Hall of Famer Ralph Cooper, in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. Today's episode of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THG Agency. THG Agency is a company that provides sporting, educational consulting, and data analytics. With that being said, let me bring everybody in. As they're doing that, let me do my weekly updates in terms of cigar. I want to not only say shout out to the alumni of Alabama State, the Hornets, for coming to Texas and getting it done in terms of that matchup against Prairie View A&M University, the Panthers. Especially, I want to say Dr. Jason Cavil invited me over to the fundraising event that they did under our brother, Colonel Clark. They had also invited me in. Shout out to them with the tailgate, along with the president of the board, who's out of Texas, doing some work that is committed to HBCU students in regards to supporting them as they transition in their professional careers, particularly those engineers that have the opportunity to take the next step. So Mike Washington is going to help with that. Satrina. So all those folks, Roosevelt, Prairie View folks that had the hospitality, shout out to them. But the cigar goes to the Hornets. Also, cigar goes to the Grambling State Tigers. They fought their way through a victory, getting it done. Tough call near the end of the game for the Bulldogs, I would say. But they got it done. Then the Braves do what they find a way to do. They just mess it up, come in and sneak things up, particularly in Texas and Houston. Boy, they came in and got it done in Houston, Texas against the Tigers. You also have a cigar for Pine Bluff, making sure that Southern is not out of their misery. I do not understand what Wilton and Charles and what the Jaguars have over them, because they try to breathe life into them any way they can, but it's not working this season at least. Shout out to the Wildcats and Bethune-Cookman. They are in the football business. They got a matchup in a couple of weeks, though. We'll see just how far. Jackson State says, get that dirt off of me. We're not dead. Over to Tallahassee, and they basically buried the Rapids. So shout out to them in terms of their cigars. I would do my independent, but they don't seem like they want to be in the football business right there. So rarely do they get a cigar. So we'll move past that. And then obviously Thursday, shout out to both Norfolk State and Delaware State for putting 45,000 plus, almost 50,000 people in Philadelphia Link Stadium. But special shout out to the Delaware State Hornets for their cigar. South Carolina State, the Bulldogs jumped out big. Morgan State pushes back, but the Bulldogs said, we run this, got it done. And Central Backs is back and puts Howard, as they would say, in their place. So shout out and cigars to them. That being said, as I said, bring everybody on so we can get into the business again. Their thoughts this weekend and what took place that has them either excited or bummed out? Are we still moving forward? It looks like we might be having a little technical difficulty, but we'll keep flowing to see what we can get done here as we're in this moment of trying to get it corrected with those moving forward, if you like. One of the things I thought was interesting from Saturday's matchup, when I specifically look at Prairie View, and I was watching the other games, obviously going up 21-7, but allowing a huge kickoff return was a challenge in terms of that matchup. And so that was one of the things that changed the tide, obviously, with Alabama State's quarterback, Andrew Body, getting hurt. That's going to be another talk of the town, these quarterbacks. And this is the second year, kind of went deeper this season, where we've had to have backups come into play. So want to see if that's some type of trend we need to consider as things get going. And then you have the fact that you have also the continuation of the East being able to get it done. I was watching the game going back and forth. It looks like the West was going to take care of business as they were getting it done. And then you saw the East raise its head and do what they need to do in terms of that matchup. So those are some things that I'm looking at in terms of that matchup. So fascinating as we do that. Let's see if we can move forward also with some of the things going on as we look to take a break here and come back on the other side and see if we can get some things going there in that matchup. Drew is having some technical, it looks like he's come back in. So let's see if we can bring everybody in and break this down for some other talks. But if not, as we get forward with that, it seems like we can get them all in now. As we're doing that, Charles, what? You got your own cigar? Sounds like all is well in Jackson. Championship game. He said everybody had dreams of hosting a championship game. Jackson State says not so fast. How you doing?
Not so fast.
I'm doing great, Doc. I'm doing phenomenal this Sunday morning.
Basically, you had your Whataburger cup.
Hey.
You quintessential Texas right now.
The sun is out. The birds are chirping. I want to send a special shout out to our colleagues at the ONG Strike Zone. Hello, fellas. How y'all doing?
Oh, man. The leg is supposed to be the second segment.
Good morning.
Second.
Yeah, that's second segment. I get there. Good morning, fellas.
I do want to also shout out, since Charles is reveling as he should in terms of Jackson State Tigers, those individuals, particularly 3 young ladies, and all of them that took me in terms of hospitality. My son, last night, as we got a chance after the game, go check out the watch party in terms at the Wing and Daiquiri and more. LA Burgers is what a lot of people refer to it as. But great watch party. Other than having to deal with things that they control in terms of restart, but great television, a great vibe there. Folks were having a good time. So shout out to those the Tigers out there getting it done, inviting us to that tailgate. I think that was the Houston alumni chapter that put that together over there.
Oh, it was Houston alumni chapter. Hey, that's Brian here. What's going on, Brian? Good morning. Yes, indeed. Yes. I tell you what, Doc, crazy thing, going into yesterday's game, the dark clouds, they were gathering on the horizon. Thunder and lightning was piercing the skies. Hey, does that sound familiar, AD? Brian, does that sound familiar? I was just curious.
I have never heard this side of CB before. I'm just
don't even
against this.
Over there now.
Yeah. Fate was but a glare. What?
I picked Jackson State to win the game. So why you on me, man?
Yeah, I heard your metrics. But I know where your heart was.
Now you aggravate AD. Brian over there probably crawling on the wall.
Oh my goodness. Mike, man, how you doing this morning?
I'm all right. My birds are not chirping as loud as CB's, obviously. There's a little bit of thunder in there. It was a tough game. I think you were alluding to it. So other than that, I am doing just fine. Got a cup of coffee, lost my voice, had to go to a Halloween party after yesterday's game. I also, if you'll allow me to, want to tip my hat to the Alabama State alumni organization. They really opened up, the door, invited us in. Great festivities, great organization. I want to make sure that that's clear from me as well, in addition to you, Doc. So much welcoming, even onto the yard when we had, the organized tailgates. Ours was right next to theirs. When I say ours, it's National Alumni Association 1876, and then their organization, and we were interchanging as if we were old friends. So hats off to the Alabama State organization.
Shout out to Day One crew that was part of that.
Absolutely.
Yes, Day One. I forgot Day One crew. Yes, exactly.
Absolutely.
Speaking a little bit about the old history of 3P tailgaters that kind of started this off, but we humbly just sit in our space and do what we do. But yeah, great point when you talk about what that looked like. It was good. Hey, I will say this: Alabama State is doing what they need to do for that NIL money advancement. We went by there Friday and they had a fundraiser nearly $20K. Won't get into specifics because that's their business. This is the type of things they do regularly throughout the year. So they're serious about doing that. And this new foundation and interest of that FAMU and Jackson aren't the only folks that can get in the party of championships, I think is intriguing. Yesterday, a lot of interest was going into Prairie View in that matchup. Talking about their chance to host the game. I thought that was important. Even hearing folks from Texas Southern that are trying to figure it out. It didn't work for either of them. But coming out of the game, you started hearing about Alabama State. Obviously, this is before Jackson State game, and they were talking about, hey, this puts us in a position. We get some breaks to go our way. We keep things going. They were concerned about it. They were talking about, hey, maybe we can have a championship game in Montgomery hosting it. Then Jackson State, as Charles did, pull out the cigar and said, that's
not so fast.
So with that being said,
still more football to be played.
Right. Charles is getting back to his regular self. He said, hold on, more football. He spends about 5 minutes in the gleam, then he's like, chill out.
All right.
AD Drew, how you doing this morning?
Man, I was so into my own world that I forgot that time changed last night and we got that extra hour. And I woke up this morning and was so happy that I got that extra hour last night. I decided to run to the grocery store this morning, and I'm in my car, and I look at the clock on the car. I look at my watch. I'm like, damn, the time changed last night. Did I lose it up in there? So I was happy with that. Number two. Looks like the championship game will stay East no matter which one of the 3 teams that are tied at the top winds up winning the East. We can get into that a little bit later. And number 3, my alma mater, my second alma mater, not FAMU, Chuck. We going to the other. We going to the Crimson and Gold. That would be Tuskegee on homecoming. Yeah. Some factors went into the lack of a homecoming crowd. We kind of saved this for Tuesday, or we could get into it, Dr. Cavil, but it was like a world of different things converging all together, and they did not converge at Cleve Abbott Alumni Memorial Stadium.
Yeah, let's take a deeper dive on Tuesday because you touched on it. It's what I would call a great tease. But so tune into us Tuesday as we go to the.
I might get into it tonight.
Well, even better yet, on the sports wrap, and then we'll come back and take even a deeper dive on Tuesday after they really provide you some insight on what that looks like. Since we are wanting to share a little mid-major, and you shared it in terms of the major division side, championship week is 2 weeks away, and we're pretty much aligning that. We had the big matchup between Johnson C. Smith, right, and Fayetteville State.
Mm-hmm.
And while Fayetteville State looked like they were going to have us saying that Johnson C. Smith is Johnson C. Smith 2 years in a row, Johnson C. Smith, I said, how dare you? They came out and got it done. And so they're one step away from getting that rematch against Virginia Union. It's pretty locked that Virginia Union is in there, but they do have to play the final game for Virginia State. Virginia State has lost to 2 of the 3 top teams at the top. So it's very unlikely that Virginia State can get in there, but they can mess it up and make it intriguing, if you would, in terms of getting to chaos that A.D. Drew likes, in terms of everybody understanding the tiebreakers. It could get a little bit more challenging athletically, or as anything could reveal that it could be pretty clear. So shout out in terms of what that looks like. So with that being said, let's take our first break, come back on the other side, and get into the top 7 scores so we can get into some specific matchup and see what these gentlemen thought. Then it's also time to see about the ledge. Does anybody get to send a life raft out there on the ledge for folks that are jump? Are you all just letting folks do what they do out there? And are you sending more people out there on the ledge is the question I have for Charles. Obviously, Big Mike and A.D. Drew can get into the mix there. But more importantly, we want to celebrate teams and those players more as we kind of did this segment. But the players, as we get to the Big Ben helmets segment, we'll do that right after this first break.
Football fans, the Cricket Celebration Bowl is celebrating 10 years of crowning an HBCU national champion. A champion will rise at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on December 13th as the MEAC and SWAC champions clash in Atlanta. Join us for championship football, interactive fan experiences, and iconic marching bands. It's an HBCU family reunion that you don't want to miss. See who will be crowned the next HBCU national champion. For event and ticket information, visit thecelebrationbowl.com.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. Whether you're a student or a lifelong supporter, our gear lets you wear your HBCU story with confidence and style. Because when you wear HBCU Image, you're not just wearing clothes. You're wearing culture. You're wearing pride. You're wearing purpose. HBCU.
With over 25 years of serving our communities, Destiny Financial Services, a division of Global Life, is here to help you and your family through difficult times. From cancer care to accidental industries to cardiac care, we all know that there are times that you can't control what happens in your life, but you can be prepared to weather the storm when it comes. Call DFS at 877-300-8269 or visit the website at www.globelifeinsurance.com. That is 877-300-8269, or again, the website at www.globelifeinsurance.com.
ESPN Events presents Red Lobster Band of the Year, a title reserved for elite HBCU marching bands. A season-long competition that culminates in Atlanta on Friday, December 12th. Drum majors, percussion, drill, auxiliaries, musicality. All aspects will be examined by the toughest judges in the world of college bands. 4 will qualify for the big stage, where national champions will be crowned. Follow us on social media for rankings updates throughout the season. And join us in Atlanta on December 12th. For event and ticket information, visit bandoftheyear.com.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
Boy, teaching them lessons. We're gonna tell you, you brag, won a loss. What you got there, Charles? What you trying to show out?
I'm looking at Deuce on Instagram. We're looking at Houston alumni page. Look at here, look at Deuce and John Grant here.
The other thing I was shouting about Jackson State, I love, as they like to say, them folks are forever recruiting. A couple of years ago, he's still in the band, big band, but he was really just getting his excitement in terms of the band. He started talking about the sonic boom of the South is Jackson State, Jackson, Mississippi. I said, what? Hold on. Oh, Charles, stop it.
Oh my God.
We was at it again last night.
All of a sudden, randomly, they come over and get in with the tickets. Come on, you pull out. And then Deuce has the magic touch. The first ticket he pulls, John Grant whispers, tell him, he said, man, take care of me, pull my name. He pulls the name. And then the last one, he takes care of his Uncle Alpha. Charles pulls his
Good job, Deuce.
I don't know what this is, but what this is about. And as I said, I didn't want to fail to do this, obviously, traveling this morning. We'll give a shout out to John Grant, making his way over to Texas, specifically Prairie View, and checking out that big matchup. Again, this is the second time this year that the SWAC had the ability to have the number 1 versus number 2 matchup. And both games lived up to it. Prairie View went up. You had the upflow down, injuries in the game, went down to a field goal, 53-yard field goal that went just wide left. I'm in the suite, and, you know, as a football individual that really looks at those matchups, you kind of look and you say, hey, that's going to be tough. You get the kickoff going, and you said, all right, he gets the kick. So we got a shot here. It's going, looking pretty good. Then your natural inclination is to look at the umpires under there, see what they do, you know, right? The ladies that were up in there are not as versed in terms of looking at that. So 2 or 3 up there with the angle you're in, and it was really close. Charles has a framework of the picture, so clearly tell you, but they still swear today it looked good. So they were cheering.
Yes.
They were cheering. So I'm looking at myself, and I'm like, what did I miss? Because I'm looking at the rest. I was like, did I miss something?
So
and I realized I said, it's no good. And they was like,
much of the crowd
dropped. And then all of a sudden, Alabama State had the suite next to us, the suite that we usually have. And we opened up this year. And so those fans were certainly excited after they realized that it wasn't any good. So you talking about the emotions on every side, just to give you some clarification on what that looked like.
Much of the crowd was also cheering as well. There were people cheering in the crowd as if it was good. And, you know, if you watch the game, as you alluded to, you wait for the refs to give the good signal. And much of the crowd, if you look down over, they were cheering as well. But we had to hear the noise of the Alabama State crew next to us consistently. So, no, so that was back and forth.
Much. They said we need to get back in the sweet business of our own. Sure
exactly. Like, we'll let y'all in that suite. Like,
let's go. As I said, give you a little update for those that tuning in for the first time. Ben L. Cavil Senior Big Ben Award is done at the end of the football season. It's the honorees must be exhibited the enduring characteristics that define Ben L. Cavil Senior: determination, diligence, integrity, performance, familial, teamwork, fraternal, and community engagement. Then was an HBCU All-American playing with the Wiley College in the mid-1920s. 1928, 29, he was a HBCU All-American, won 4 out of 5 years SWAC championships at Wiley College at that time, now Wiley University, and won a Black College championship as well under legendary football coaches Long. With that being said, when we do the Big Ben sticker, though, gentlemen get to go outside of that. It doesn't have to be a player that is from Texas and playing at an HBCU, or it could be a player that went to a high school in Texas that is connected to an HBCU. As well, it can be individual outside of the state of Texas if they're playing at one of the HBCUs in Texas. So we'll keep you updated, but they get to give Big Ben stickers for anybody that has superlatives just to pay homage to what that looks like. Fullback, a member of that Wildcat 11. This was last week's top 7, so we'll go and see what these teams did this week. Obviously, number 7 was North Carolina Central. The Eagles. Number 6 was Texas Southern Tigers. Delaware State Hornets at 5. The 4th spot was South Carolina State Bulldogs. Top 3 teams coming out of the SWAC. Number 3 is Jackson State Tigers. Number 2 is Prairie View and Panthers. Number 1, Alabama State Hornets. So let's get into that. As we told you, the first matchup featured 1 versus 2. Alabama State literally did not get on the road. Maybe some of the fans did, but the team and the band surprised us some. Credit to those that made that happen. Old friend of mine out of Huntsville that got together in there making things happen. So I want to give him a little bit of shout out in terms of what that looks like in terms of Lamont Huffman that does flights in terms of his business, getting him here on charter flights. So yeah, number 1, Alabama State getting it done, holding on to a victory after falling down early. They improved to 6-2, 4-1, making the East even more interesting as they take down number 2, Prairie View Panthers, that fall to 6-3, 4-1. Because some other things happened in the East with Texas Southern losing as well. They pretty much keep the same spread they had going into this week. 31-28, maybe a little tighter with Grambling State as they got a call, good call, and really had some great defenses with a lot of sacks in that matchup, getting it done at home. Defeat Alabama A&M, the Bulldogs. In this matchup, the Hornets defeat the Panthers 31-28 was the final in that score. Let's go to number 3, which are your Jackson State Tigers. They go down to Tallahassee, plant their flag. Really, they didn't, which is a good thing because we know how that took off a couple years. But we'll say virtually, since that's a thing. Virtually planted their flag, defeating the Rattlers. So the Jackson State Tigers at 3 improved to 6-3, 4-1. They defeat the Rattlers that fall to 3-5, 2-2, 41-16. Some Rattler fans were trying to find some way of hope. Other folks felt concerned going in this matchup, and things just worked out, but they were still in it. It was not to be. Moving on to number 4, which is the Bulldogs, which is crazy from some perspectives. When you think about last year's MEAC champion that qualified, obviously, for the Celebration Bowl, that are quietly getting things because a lot of folks are paying more attention to either North Carolina Central that was not picked number 1 to go into the season, but that's the way they started things off. And the red hot, and I mean red hot, Delaware State Hornets, as their color is that turquoise in red. Well, South Carolina State, the Bulldogs improved to 6-3, 2-0, defeating Morgan State that fell to 3-6, 0-2, 36-30. This is the second or third game where they were up big and they let teams come back. And some people ask the question, you always do that, whether it was with Bethune-Cookman and did they let off the gas? I think this is another example when you look closer, if you watch the game and or go deeper into the statistics, where they were trying to move the ball to continue to do what they need to do. They got to stop. Morgan State went on a nice drive. Multiple plays, over 7 or 8 plays, got a touchdown, onside kick if you would. And next thing you know, they get a stop and they score. So they scored 21 points in the 4th quarter. So that's something to keep your eyes on for the Bulldogs as they continue to move forward. But other than that, they're looking good. More importantly, they get the W and go to 2-0 in the conference race in the MEAC. Setting up what could be at the end of the year. Obviously, you have that matchup in a couple of weeks with North Carolina Central first. That is in Raleigh. I plan to be there as that's a Friday night game. But they have the end of year matchup that is usually ho-hum. But with Delaware State, and that game is in Delaware, over. That could be intriguing in terms of what that looks like. But speaking of the Delaware State Hornets, let's move on to number 5. They will face Morgan State this week, and that game has been moved to a Friday game in a lot of ways on ESPN after the success they had a couple of weeks ago, and particularly what happened Thursday. Well, the Delaware State Hornets continue to show their magic and say that they are for real. They are 6-3 overall. More importantly for them, they're 2-0 in the MEAC. They defeat a game Norfolk State in front of 40,000 plus, as I said earlier. Norfolk State falls to 1-8, 0-2. But the score was an entertaining game, 27-20, as the Hornets and Coach Jackson get it done in terms of that matchup. On to number 6 in terms of what took place in that matchup. This is probably the big upset of the day. The score wasn't that bad, but it was solid. It should have been 33-14 on the score there. But the Braves defeat the Tigers that want to stay in the race. And it would have got maybe even more interesting in the West as both would have been 4-4. Obviously, Prairie View has the tiebreaker, but it still stays as a 1 game, 2 if you lose in the tiebreaker, because the Braves get it done. Again, 33-14. They improved to 3-6, 2-3. Number 6 was the Tigers fall to 4-4 and 3-2. 33-14 was that matchup. Which makes it interesting, as Braves tend to do. They're always a tough out. They played tough this year. Things just didn't go in their favor in terms of score. But, boy, can they mess some things up for some folks later down the season. We'll see what that looks like, as it looks like they are getting better. With that being said, at number 7, as we close things out, those pesky Eagles are back at it. They improved to 6-3, 1-1 after taking that conference loss to Delaware State. That is not looking as bad as maybe people would have thought it looked a couple of weeks ago, even though the Eagles had bigger plans. They're still in the hunt as they win 35-14 over Howard. That falls to 4-5 and 1-1 in the conference race. With that being said, I'm going to you first, Charles. What are your thoughts in terms of these top 7 scores on the matchup here?
I think the thing that jumps out for me with regards to yesterday, obviously the injury to Andrew Body. I think that's one of those things that Prairie View will look at a golden opportunity, especially with one of the more dynamic players in the SWAC. He goes down, not able to come back in that game. And, ultimately, the turnovers are kind of what hurt them in that game. 4 interceptions in that game. So had an opportunity there at the end with a game-winning field goal to tie it, to send it in overtime, but we're not able to get that done. The other thing that jumps out for me, Jackson State, 392 yards rushing. And I remember, James Big Daddy Carson telling me a long time ago, he's like, I can give you the assignment, I can align you where you're supposed to be, but if somebody's force is too much for your will, it's nothing I can do with that. And we saw that last night with regards to Jackson State's offensive line. They took over that game. You had some fortuitous things that happened. It got a turnover, and once the ball got rolling, and once that rushing game got up and going, it was a rough night for the Rattlers. So Jackson State's offensive line, you give a shout out to those guys. DeAndre Towns, Blue, Ace Meadows, all those guys up front. They took over that game, and you saw that with regards to Ahmad Miller and Denario Davenport able to rush for over 100 yards in that game. And what you might see until however long the breadth of Morgan's injury is, Jacoby Morgan's injury is, you see sort of a template of probably what you're going to see from Jackson State's offense. You're going to run the football. You're going to have to commit resources to stopping the run, and they'll get their downfield opportunities from there. And we saw that last night.
Mike, let me know your thoughts on what you had there, and I'm gonna go off camera while you're doing that for a quick minute, and I'll come back and then get Drew in the mix.
Yep, no worries. So what stood out to me, obviously, we were at the Prairie game, and as CB alluded to, Prairie had a golden opportunity. And then that 4 turnovers, there were also 2 calls where the referee sat on the call at crucial points of the game, and that most folks felt were very obvious. So that stood out to me again. But again, hats off to Alabama State, even with the injury to Andrew Body, and you hope that this young man can recover and finish the season. I don't know if any of you know the extent of his injury, but hats off, prayers to Andrew Body and his family. But hats off to the Alabama State team. Golden opportunity for Prairie View, and just could not get it done. The other thing, which is a head scratcher, is the profundity with which Arkansas Pine Bluff defeated Southern. I mean, my goodness, they put up 460 yards total offense against. I was mesmerized. So, sorry, wrong side. It was right at 400 yards. That's another game that I'm about to allude to. But if you look at it, I mean, I did not. I expected UAPB to win, or University of Arkansas Pine Bluff to come up with the win, but not like this. So that was a bit of a head scratcher. There were only 2 turnovers by Southern, and you just kind of wonder, what's happened. Is it, the coaching? Is it the talent? Is it the combination of both? You wonder kind of where this team is at this point in 2025.
I think that's a fair question. Carlos them discussed that at nauseum on the show yesterday, but I can certainly understand when you're that concerned. Been there before, and I must admit. But to me, when you start seeing this, I think that's the problem. If you think that it's one thing, when you fall like this is a total organizational issue, and including fans. And when I say that, I mean that everybody is not on the same page. Everybody thinks they can singularly or point to a person or 2 that can solve that. Everybody has to collectively, to some degree, be on the same page for you to fix this. This is not just a coaching issue. This is not just a player development issue. This is just not a player attainment issue. This is a total organization failure from a proud program when you see that it is gotten to this level, when you really have a program reaching the depths that they hadn't done in 40 some years. And so that's going to be the big intriguing thing to me to watch. Will they continue to think and focus that is just 1 or 2 things that they have to make, and not realize that they can't point the fingers, that they have to collectively come together to get it done? Now, in terms of athletics and what we do in the conference, I'm not rooting one way or the other in terms of it happen, but as a fan of HBCUs and the SWAC, I hope they do get it right. But I did want to acknowledge that as you bring up a good point. Mike, anything else, or were you closing up on that?
Yeah. Just one more point I'd like to close. I think CB alluded to it. Teams gearing up to stop the run, and I'd like to flip on the other side. Teams that are able to run, even when there might be questions on the passing game. You look at Jackson State, Ahmad Miller, 165 yards. He answered the call. Jamari Holt's call against with Alabama State. He answered the call. I had a 44-yard run, had 130 yards on the run. And even in a losing effort, Mr. Bingham from Prairie View A&M. So hats off to the running backs that were able to answer the call. Yes, there's a whole team involved in the running game, but as CB alluded to, teams have to stop up and be prepared to get the run. That's where you control the clock. That's where you dominate the game. That's where you really get into the other team's will. And you had 3 or 4 running backs that really stood out to me as well in a couple of games.
Good closing point there in this segment here. Drew, what are your thoughts in terms of the top 7 scores that took place?
Just a sidebar, that comment that you made about Southern, I need you to bottle that up and just send that to the Division 2 level and insert the name Tuskegee onto those same comments that you made about Southern.
Mm.
Uh, but getting back to the games at hand, and we're gonna find out in a few moments who's number one, who's number two. No matter who you vote at number one or number two, there's an interesting dynamic that we have not seen,
Woo.
especially at the
Wow.
top of our polls.
Yeah.
The top two teams in everybody's poll have issues all of a sudden at the quarterback position in November. It's going to make an interesting stretch run, and the issues are not due to performance; they are due to health with the teams in the East.
That's a good
Does
point.
this open up an opportunity for the other team in Florida to sneak into the Celebration Bowl picture? Because all three of them are tied with the same record as of right now, with the Jackson State Bethune matchup still to come. And then we get into the classic should Bethune win, ABB, BBC, and CBA scenario. But one thing is has been determined. No matter which of those three teams it is, the championship game will be on the eastern side because Alabama State took care of business yesterday for the East. So whoever comes out of that East will become the host of the championship game.
Mm.
I believe that's like 98% correct. I think there is a margin in there if it happens to be Bethune Cookman in terms of what that would look like, other than the three-way tie that you're alluding to, which still falls to the East. But yeah, a lot of football to be played. I do think it's good for the talk because it's not a foregone conclusion of who that team is. I think obviously, we like to talk about this time, who's in the driver's seat. I'd like to make it clear that Jackson State is in the driver's seat. I think you could argue who's in the passenger seat.
Yep. That's the bigger
Alabama
question.
State or Bethune Cookman. I'll let you decide who you want to put over there. Obviously, the one you don't goes into the back seat. And maybe you can put them right behind the person in the front seat. That way they can easily get over and jump in the back seat as if we used to do when we were younger, climb the seats. And then next to the person in the back seat is Prairie View Panthers.
So I got a question, Doc. I got a question. Are we talking about a bus, a van, or a car? Because you're talking back seats.
At this point, I think it's just a four-seater.
Four-seater. Gotcha.
We'll squeeze another team in there. Last week, we could have called it a Suburban. You could have had that look. I don't think we needed a truck since maybe the first week of swag football, second week at best. But I think we passed the trucks, unless you want to put in the other conference, and then we can combine them and get us a bus. There's enough teams in the hunt. But if you talk about from the MEAC perspective, I think, I don't know. You can argue who's in the driver's seat. Delaware State or South Carolina State. The other one is in the passenger seat. And then in the passenger seat behind that is North Carolina Central. We don't even have any other room in that vehicle. You might be able to sneak Howard in there somehow since they're just 1-1. But I'll let you decide on that. Quickly as we go through this, Charles, ladies.
Absolutely Florida A&M. I think that fan base is, the splashing is going on behind me. Yeah, I think Florida A&M fan base is definitely on the ledge with regards to just what they see.
Southern is already in the.
Oh yeah, Southern is swimming for a second or two. Yeah.
Did you pull the Braves come back out?
Yeah, actually, I am pulling the Braves back off the ledge. I think they still have a couple games out in front of them, that at least could absolutely put a solve on the season. put a salve on the season in terms of, how they finish up, because over the past couple of weeks, they've been playing much better football.
Morgan State.
Morgan State, absolutely. Got to put them out there on the ledge. Absolutely.
Norfolk State is in the water.
Been swimming for a second or two.
They joined A&T
Yeah.
in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Swimming for a while.
They're out there backstroking. They've been enjoying the water for a second or two.
Man, boy. You can tell alumni folks. John Grant, he's all in everything. He just checks to see what North A&T is doing. He sees the score of Townsend, start making phone calls.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would say they legend. They legend. He's excited about what's going over here in these matchups, but people check just to say, what?
Yeah.
Once proud program, love to brag with a lot of folks in terms of the number celebration bowl, but they're so far from that.
Yeah, speaking of John Grant, I'd like to say hats off to him for making it to the game yesterday. A lot of folks knew him. He goes, he doesn't need any kind of really introduction. He goes there, folks know him. But we called him out one in particular. I'll speak for Big Mike. I called him out, and he answered the call, and he came. He had festivities with both teams. Shook hands with some of the higher dignity folks as well as the other folks in the tailgate. Go ahead, CB. I'm sorry, but I want to tip my hat because I did call him out, and he's like, "Hell, what choice did I have? You called me out, Mike." So anyway,
let me tell you how quickly how much of the mayor of HBCU football he is. Look, I walked downstairs with him, and all of the let me take a picture. Man, let me tell you, we're in Buc-ee's last night. Somebody walked up to him like, "Aren't you John Grant from the Celebration Bowl?" In Buc-ee's? So, of course, yes. That was a whole introduction deal there in Buc-ee's last night. I tell you
and
what.
He will never fail to hold court. He's going to be
Never fails. So, hats off.
Yeah, hats off. And that commercial, the most interesting man in the world. If that's a black man, it looks like John Grant.
Any helmet stickers? Quickly, any helmet stickers?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me give a helmet sticker to Curtis Allen. Huge day yesterday. Curtis Allen yesterday, 369 yards rushing, 26 attempts, 5 touchdowns. And I'm going to also give helmet stickers to both Jackson State's offensive line and defensive line. Both lines did what they had to do yesterday. But huge stat yesterday. Jackson State, another game, they're over 200 yards rushing. All wins when they're over 200 yards rushing. But the other big stat yesterday, Florida A&M only 1 for 11 on third down conversion. So the defense was able to get that offense off the field.
Yeah, good job. Good analysis. Big Mike, helmet sticker?
Yeah, part of it, TB. I wanted to get Jackson State's offensive line and Ahmad Miller. Ahmad Miller had 165 yards. I think he had a long one of 40, 50 yards. Man, tremendous effort. He had one TD, but that dang offense. Then you look at what they held MU to. I think CB alluded to. The other one I will give it to is Jamari Holtzclaw, young man from Alabama State, running back. Had a tremendous, but he bared the brunt, especially in body's injury. He had, I believe, 130 or just shy of 130 yards on 20 carries. But that young man was lights out. So hats off to Jamari Holtzclaw.
Good one. Drew? Mute.
They not only have they took my helmet stickers, they actually took the helmet that I put the stickers on, because they took all of my personal nominees for my helmet stickers. And normally I'm always safe at the D2 level, but Charles Bishop want to go dive into my territory this time.
Hey, all the times you done left no meat on the bone, I had to get some meat that time.
Yeah, man, you took the whole damn turkey leg on that one, my brother. So since I have no helmet stickers, because there's really nothing that I can add helmet sticker wise, I'll just say mine for the ledge talk. Tuskegee, already in the deep end. I know this is not the show for that, but Tuskegee's already in the deep end.
Say that with the lyrics.
Norfolk deep end, Southern deep end, Alcorn State. Somebody tossed them a life preserver and bringing them back to shore. Those are just a couple of them. But right now, honestly, it on the Division II level, if you're not one of those 3 or 4 teams that are fighting for the conference championships these last 2 weeks, you're on the ledge. And on the Division I level, there's really only about I'm gonna promote the show. If you're not in Dr. Cavil's top 7 right now, when we do this in the next segment, chances are, if you're not already in the deep end, you are at least in line to be on the ledge right now.
On the beach, on the edge of the pool.
The sand is in your toes.
Perfect segment first to break down as we lead into the next one. We'll be right back after this break and come back and give you that top 7.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavil of Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. Whether you're a student or a lifelong supporter, our gear lets you wear your HBCU story with confidence and style. Because when you wear HBCU Image, you're not just wearing clothes. You're wearing culture. You're wearing pride. You're wearing purpose. HBCU.
College football fans, the Cricket Celebration Bowl is celebrating 10 years of crowning an HBCU national champion. A champion will rise at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on December 13th as the MEAC and SWAC champions clash in Atlanta. Join us for championship football, interactive fan experiences, and iconic marching bands. It's an HBCU family reunion that you don't want to miss. See who will be crowned the next HBCU national champion. For event and ticket information, visit thecelebrationbowl.com.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Let's get into rankings for the HBCU Major Division, week number 10. Top 7. As we always do, we're going to start to see if anybody dropped out this week. And we do have one that moved outside of the top 7. That is the Texas Southern Tigers. They fall to 4-4, 3-2. We spoke about the loss to the Braves of Alcorn State, coming into Houston and getting it done, getting a big victory. Let's look at those receiving votes just outside of the top 10. Bethune-Cookman, they keep winning, but they can't quite jump into the top 7. Can't quite crack it, if you would. They're at 5-4, 4-1, but they got one thing that you need to do, which is You just keep winning, and it will take care of itself. They have done their part thus far. They had 148 points, so they get a little close. If you would, Texas Southern Tigers are still in the hunt. They're receiving votes, although they dropped out. They're at 4-4, 3-2, 230 points. And the Howard Bison, even with their fall, are finding a way to stay right there on the ledge, I guess, as we would call it, as we talked about last segment. They're at 4-5, 1-1. Still in the race, if you would, in the MEAC a little bit. A lot of things have to go in their favor, but they have 3 more games. We'll see what that looks like. 113 points. Let's get to the good part. Let's see the superlatives, the top 7. Grambling State Tigers won 2 in a row, probably have the biggest win season in terms of what you see in the rankings, that is, with the win a couple of weeks ago against Jackson State. And then they combine that to getting a gritty win at home against Alabama A&M Bulldogs at a still game. They improved to 6-3. More importantly than them, they're at 3-2 and stay in an earshot of Prairie View down the stretch with 149 points. As I said, they were not ranked last weekend, but they jump in the top 7. Let's move on to number 6. As we move forward at number 6, you have North Carolina Central, the Eagles. They're at 6-3, 1-1 on the season. They rebound after their open season loss to Delaware State and get back to their winning ways, 164 points. And they move up a slot after dropping down to 7 last week, and they're moving back up in ascending way of the top 7. Moving on to number 5, Delaware State Hornets. It's easy to say they're for real now, but they're solidly in the top 7. They do stay at number 5 because teams above them, for the most part, still are winning. They're at 6-3, 2-0, 173 points. Delaware State is the enigma. When you see the voters come in, you have Delaware State a little bit everywhere. So it's intriguing to see when you say 5. In a lot of ways, it's a combination of where they are. Some folks have them all the way up to number 2, if you would, while some have them down to number 7. Some of them even have them right outside at 8. But fascinating when you talk about their this week at number 5, 6-3, 2-0. At number 4, Prairie A&M Panthers are 6-3, 4-1 after close home loss to the number 1 team. They fall 2 spots, previously being ranked number 2, 185 points. Moving into number 3. At number 3, the South Carolina State Bulldogs, 6-3. They add a first place vote. They had 202 votes. They move up a spot from 4. As I said, this is intriguing to me quietly in a lot of ways. The Bulldogs may not be getting the talk that they did last year when they had a meteoric rise that ascended to a MEAC championship and a ticket to the Cricket Celebration Bowl in Atlanta to face Jackson State. Incredible. You see that we have 2 number 1s here. I'm teasing this out a little bit. As the votes came in yesterday, hold on. I wasn't going to show that yet, but that's all right. As we tease this out a little bit, as the first 4 votes came out, they were tied at 4-4. And that's why I opened up this, because I was waiting on those last 2 votes to come in. I wasn't sure they were going to come in time for the show. They came in late, and I had to put stuff up, so I didn't do that. So Jackson State, as you saw, actually did come in, and they are at number 2. So I want to make that correct, as AD it showed, which was correct. Jackson State Tigers 2, 6-2, 4-1, because as you'll see with the number 1, the 2 votes that came in moved it to Alabama State versus it being 4-4. This would have been the first time you would have had 2 number 1 teams in the poll that I've done over 20 years now. You had not seen that before. But history was lost. Jackson State actually is number 2, 6-2, 4-1, 4 first place votes, 218. I think this will be talked throughout the week because obviously, although this is a week to week, we do talk about the cumulative. I always push head to head, and Jackson State won the head to head against Alabama State. Alabama State last week did pull the number 1. And I think a lot of posters had to decide: do you take in the fact the head-to-head matchup, or do you pull down the number one team that went into the week number one against the number two team? You somehow drop them, and so I think it's fascinating. As I just think it adds to the intrigue going down the stretch. And while we had a little glimpse of the light in the west, the light is going to shine back to the east about how things fall up, particularly when you look at Bethune-Cookman at number 8, trying to find a way to sneak into the poll. And as ADU shows you, that number one team is Alabama State Hornets with 2 first-place votes over Jackson State with a total of 6 20 points, and they remain at number 1 in week number 10. Guys, tell me where you landed and why. We'll start with you, Charles.
Just to look at the overall top 7 or
overall top 7 or the top 2.
Sure.
You can go to whatever direction you want to
go. Gritty win by Grambling starting at number 7, especially just coming off the hangover of the win of Jackson State and playing without Xavier T-Set. So I think that should calm down some of the wolves that hold there at Grambling. So great job, Mickey Joseph, getting that win. North Carolina Central getting off the mat. We saw what Delaware State was able to do this past week. Great win. Prairie View, all is not lost. You still control everything over there in the SWAC West. So you might have potentially lost an opportunity to host here in Houston, but yet still in the driver's seat. And you talked about it earlier with South Carolina State, quietly, because all the light is shining on Delaware State, but South Carolina State quietly just keeps winning. And then Jackson State, I think looking down the stretch, Alcorn, their defense is going to be the highest rated defense in stopping the rush. They're currently 2 in the SWAC in stopping the rush. Behind them is Mississippi Valley at 4. Bethune-Cookman sits at 6th in the SWAC in stopping the rush. As I mentioned earlier, I think the path going forward, you're going to see that Jackson State offensive line really lean on defenses in regards to getting that running game up and going so that they can have some shots downfield. And a tremendous win of Alabama State. Anytime you go on the road and get a win in the SWAC, tremendous win. So hats off to Alabama State for getting that W yesterday.
Good stuff. AD Drew.
A lot of red flags all over this, Dr. Cavil. I'm sorry. I have to be the bearer of bad
yellow. He said red flag.
Couple of things. Obviously, the one that a lot of us struggled with was the Alabama State-Jackson State debate. We know Jackson State has the head-to-head, but Alabama State on a 3-game winning streak versus Jackson State, who essentially on a 1-game winning streak. So that was a kind of tough, but like you said, Dr. Cavil, it was a 1-2 matchup. And last week's number one won. How the hell do you move them in a 1-2 matchup? No matter what Jackson State did. No disrespect to Jackson State, but they were number 1. They took care of business. So despite the head-to-head and everything else, you have to leave them at number 1. Now, the rest of your poll, Dr. Cavil, I got some problems with this. Number 1, who the hell are the 2 people who voted for South Carolina State at number 1? We may need to question their voting privileges, because if you give them to Jackson State, you give them to Alabama State, I don't care. I just can't see you putting those 2 votes on South Carolina State. That's number 1. Number 2, I'm not even sure South Carolina State is the best team in the MEAC. Charles, there's a reason all the light is shining on Delaware State. They are playing the best ball. Yeah, they struggled a little bit against Norfolk State. You got to remember, Delaware State not used to playing in stadiums like that. So not only did they have the light on the program, they had the light on everything with the big lights on the stage. When they get back into a regular venue, I think we're going to see a Delaware State team that we have seen in the past. It was kind of tough to place Prairie View because they were number 2. They lost on the last second play, just like they won on the last second play earlier this year. But everybody else around them won, so it was really tough on where to place them. But the last one, Dr. Cavil, number 7, Grambling State. I hate to say this, but Bethune-Cookman needs that spot before Grambling State. I still cannot, even though this is a week poll, I cannot get out of my head Kentucky State and Langston when I look at Grambling State. I cannot get those out of my head when it comes to voting. Bethune-Cookman, one of the hottest teams out there. The one loss in conference is to the number 1 team, although Grambling has the victory against the number 2 team. I still that Langston, Kentucky State is the tiebreaker for me, putting Bethune-Cookman
hangover
in there.
Yeah.
It's still I'm still taking Tylenol on that one.
I think it's fascinating discussion, because that's why I love this segment. Not only do we unveil the top 7, but we allow you to get into some of the voters that vote in here and their thoughts. And you're right. Some people think just like you, and others, because I collect all the ballots, and I've seen Bethune-Cookman on some people's ballots all the way up to number 4. So you're absolutely right in terms of what people think and how they decide to look at some victories. You could argue that Grambling has the biggest win of the year in terms of defeating, at that time, the number 1 team that was number 1 going back to week 10 last year. While you could argue that Bethune-Cookman, as you said, probably playing some of the best football in general at this time. So what is your main criteria that you look at? How deep do you go to week, or how far do you look at a composite in addition to week, kind of shifts where you are? I've seen Delaware State all the way up to number 3. Some people believe in Delaware State even more than what you're saying. But what I love this is we'll find out on the field, because you'll have that Delaware State, South Carolina State matchup.
Yeah.
And so you'll get to see that. And so those things are nice. You'll get to see North Carolina Central and South Carolina State. You'll see that on the field. You'll get to see Jackson State and Bethune-Cookman on the field. So it's going to be fascinating as you go down the stretch. You have a couple of those matchups. But before we go to the next segment, I want to have Mike have his final say on the top 7.
All right. So I agree with number 1 and number 1, or 1A, 1B, however you want to term it. I agree with voting. I have the same concern with South Carolina State getting 2 number 2 votes. Why do I say that? Number 1, you don't talk with them as if they're head of this MEAC. Number 2, who are their top 7 wins? Now, that'll flush out in the next couple of weeks, but they don't have any top. Delaware State beat a North Carolina Central that's been in this top 7 poll for quite some weeks. So I had Delaware State ahead of South Carolina State. Grambling State, while I agree with you, last week they just beat the then number 1 team. So I had Grambling State at the number 7 slot. But I would move Delaware State up. Give them credit. They played in a big stadium, lots of lights. They were on Good Morning America. For whatever reason, you got to look at their body of work, look at the instance, and then look at where they are. They are on top of the MEAC. Like it, love it, or leave it. Now, that will rectify itself as well in the next coming weeks. But to this week, I have Delaware State as the number 3. And then Prairie View has 3. Number 17, they beat Texas Southern when Texas Southern was up here. They beat Grambling, arguably, when Grambling's here. But when we look at South Carolina State, they have been very quiet. But, their victories have come against Savannah State, Norfolk State. None of those teams have really been in the top 7. So so when you're looking at this, you also got to look at who are their victories against top 7 teams. That's my only concern with this.
Yeah, I think you make a good point. You can't argue with that. Again, it's eyes in the whole of the believer in terms of, when you look at beauty, what do you like to see in terms of what that is? I do think that some people vote that they, even though they look week to week, South Carolina State started higher. Delaware State is coming out of nowhere. So if the teams are winning around the same margin, how much do you punish South Carolina State because they hadn't done it, but in terms of still getting wins? but not getting the wins that you want. I will say this, though. Think about Alabama State, what they have done thus far, Charles.
Mm-hmm.
They went on the road to Tallahassee. That was before things really fell apart, but still, you know, it's a difficult place to win. They hadn't crossed that demon yet. They got the win. They go to Jackson State, play down to the wire. They take on their rival and beat them to death like they stole
something.
Then they go over to Texas, a long trip, another good football team. So their schedule. I know we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, and you want to finish this out this year, and you don't want to neglect the opportunity to get it done. But next year's schedule, Alabama State has FAMU at home, Jackson State at home, Prairie at home. If these teams continue to, I mean, you're talking about a nice schedule just in general, but what would look like some of the tougher teams, you got them right there on your backyard. Boy, you're talking about a team that is road tested. The Hornets are fascinating to kind of watch in terms of what they've been able to do this year.
Mm-hmm.
With that, let's take this last break, come back for the last segment, and get to what we do. It's time to look forward, Charles, in terms of what that looks like. I would take a quick moment, as we did on Thursday. We shared some love with the projections. Drew, tonight you need to talk about how your projections that you talked about on Thursday, how you end up scoring overall. Obviously, when we did the Kyle metrics, he had FAMU narrowly beating Jackson State. He missed really bad on that. He had Alabama A&M slightly over Grambling. That one was a little off. In terms of Alabama State, he had Alabama State by a slim margin, right on the money on that one. He had Texas Southern by a field goal, off on that one. He had Bethune-Cookman by 2 scores of Valley, a little closer, but he was right ultimately on that one. He had Arkansas Pine Bluff over Southern. In terms of what he called, with many, I guess, as you all said, Southern, he called it the upset too. And he had Jackson State by 10 plus over FAMU. So he was on it in a lot of those. Lastly, he had Delaware State by 2 touchdowns over Norfolk State, a little closer than what he had. South Carolina State by a touchdown over Morgan, right on the money. North Carolina Central in a tight one, wasn't quite that tight, but he did have the victory over Howard. So again, 80 Drew tonight, give us your updates of where you fit. I tune in for that.
I will say one that I would say the only one, and I'm just took a quick glance that I know was wrong, was Grambling, Texas Southern. I think all the rest of them panned out.
Good job. Good job. So you get a little bit of updates as we start moving forward with that on Thursday to see specifically doing the metrics where you come out. I think that's an added addition we want to take care of. When we take this last break, come back on the side, we're going to give you some matchups and see what these gentlemen think about what will take place next week in the SWAC and the VA. We'll be right back after this break.
ESPN Events presents Red Lobster Band of the Year, a title reserved for elite HBCU marching bands. A season-long competition that culminates in Atlanta on Friday, December 12th. Drum majors, percussion, drill, auxiliaries, musicality. All aspects will be examined by the toughest judges in the world of college bands. 4 will qualify for the big stage, where national champions will be crowned. Follow us on social media for rankings updates throughout the season. And join us in Atlanta on December 12th. For event and ticket information, visit bandoftheyear.com.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. Whether you're a student or a lifelong supporter, our gear lets you wear your HBCU story with confidence and style. Because when you wear HBCU Image, you're not just wearing clothes. You're wearing culture. You're wearing pride. You're wearing purpose. HBCU Image, a Kenny T's company.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball, So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Let's jump right into week number 10. Man, things are flying by. As we told you, we'll keep up on Thursday and give you a Kyle Mosley HBCU Legends SP Plus, I should say. Major Division Advanced Analytics. We'll get AD Drew's breakdown and his analysis on his analytics as well. We'll incorporate that to tell you next week on Thursday, not only in terms of your own analysis where teams are, we'll give you some metrics to think about that as well. Let's get into the first matchup in terms of the rankings according to the day release. We have Texas Southern coming off a tough victory, so you know they're going to be angry and mad. But Texas Southern now faces faces on the road Alabama State. Texas Southern comes in 4-4, 3-2. They need this to look for a winning season, to find a way to stay in the race. And they face Alabama State that needs it as well. They want to stay on the race as well. 6-3, 4-1. This is a big time matchup. Top 10, number 9. I just told you about the gauntlet Alabama State is doing, and the SWAC is turning into that, where it's week and week top matchup, particularly when you add in rivalries and all those kind of things. That even if a team is not ranked or doing well, when it's rivalry, they get up, and you add all those things together, boy. You talking about a gauntlet of a schedule for most teams, but particularly Alabama State. Charles, you started off with a what's on your mind?
It's just trap game. That's a trap game. Depends on the health of Andrew Body. That's a scary game for Alabama State from the standpoint of, and I have to go back and take a look at what happened yesterday with regards to Alcorn, but Texas Southern can run football. And that is, if you're going to say if that's an Achilles heel of the Alabama State defense, stopping the run is an Achilles heel, I think, of the Alabama State defense. So that, I believe, is a trap game. And, you know, if Texas Southern can find a way to limit turnovers or not hurt themselves, they'll be right there in that game.
Yeah, I think very early on you saw that with Prairie View. They made some adjustments, but now those adjustments on film be watched this week. So you're right. It'll be interesting to see what that looks like. Mike, what are your thoughts in terms of this 1 versus 9 matchup?
Exact same thing. Same reason, same thing. You saw what Prairie View's running attack did to, Alabama State. They did make adjustments, but here in the fourth quarter, they started to reopen that run back up. So it could be a trap game to me for Alabama State. If they don't really gear up to stop the run, which Texas Southern, as CB alluded to, does well, it could be a trap game for Alabama State. On the light side, if you look at where Texas Southern is on the defensive side, I think they're somewhere in the middle. I think they're like number 3 on the defense, so they can have a strong defense. So I think Alabama, this is a watch-out game. You came out this big win for Prairie View, and now you got Texas Southern coming home, which pays equally or arguably just as good, almost a strong equivalent type of run game. So I agree with CB. It's a trap game.
Drew, where are you on this matchup?
I'm interested to see, just like I was interested this week with Jackson State and their quarterback situation. I am really interested with Alabama State and their quarterback situation. And it's a doggone shame that Coach Eddie Robinson, who's putting together the best campaign he's had as a head coach, once again runs into the gauntlet of an injured quarterback during his season. And it's the good thing is he's been here before. He's been at the point, especially when we take all the data points from last year, Mike, where he played 82 quarterbacks last year. So if there's anybody who understands what adjustments he needs to do on the practice field and in the meeting rooms this week of losing your number 1, it is Eddie Robinson and that offensive staff. The bad thing is, if there's anybody who knows the pain of not having your number 1 quarterback in key games this late in the season, it's Eddie Robinson and the Alabama State Hornets. I'm siding with Alabama State at home in a lot closer game than you would probably expect. If this game was in Houston, I would probably be siding with Texas Southern in this situation.
Key stat, Texas Southern and Alabama State 7th and 8th respectively in stopping the run. So who can actually get the respective running backs on the ground? So,
Yeah, because I think he can go get a heavy dose, especially from
heavy
the
dose.
Hornet side.
Yeah, heavy dose. Jamari Holtzclaw. Absolutely.
Holtzclaw. All day.
Good analysis. Let's go to the next matchup. Number 2. Jackson State at Mississippi Valley State Delta Devils. Always a tough place because of the team, but I think just too much there of the Tigers in terms of being able to run the ball. At the very least, it may be close early, but they'll wear down Valley, who's 0-4, struggling. But one of those games that you can't overlook, but I think they'll get it done. Charles, you have any way? I know what Mike's going to say, Valley.
Well, yeah, I'm very interested in this game. I'll be on the call for this football game. But historically, Mississippi Valley always plays Jackson State very, very hard. But depth will be, I think, an issue in this game. And like we've talked about during the course of this program, Jackson State will lean on teams, and I think that rushing game will pay off in the end.
AD Drew, you buying what Charles trying to say?
I am not buying it. It's not for sale here in Georgia. And I'm going to tell you why it is not for sale here in Georgia. Obviously, Georgia is real close to the state of Florida, where Terrell Buckley played his ball at Florida State University. So you've got a head coach who's a defensive coach, against a freshman quarterback. So true freshman quarterback, if I do remember that correctly. Starting his second game, he's at the quarterback is on the road in, for lack of a better word, hostile territory, as hostile as Itabena can be. But Terrell Buckley, y'all acting like this is the Valley of old, where it's Valley losing by 68 points. No, this has been a very competitive Valley game. I'm wondering if Buckley is going to be able to draw up enough exotic blitzes so that when Jackson State has to pass the ball, we know they're going to be run first in this game, but when they have to pass the ball, they can confuse this young quarterback enough to cause enough havoc to keep them in the game. And if Valley is in this game in the fourth quarter, Charles, that's when you need to go ahead and get the sweat rag out of your back pocket and start to worry. So although, yeah, conventional wisdom says Jackson State, it's something about this game, especially when you factor in Jackson State has Bethune-Cookman next week, and a game that we would have overlooked in July next week is going to be the next biggest game in the SWAC. Jackson State, don't look ahead too much. Maybe a possible trap game for Jackson State also.
Mike, it's your turn to do your proverbial.
I'm not. See? Here's why. And it's that last point. It's not that Jackson State is playing a team that played within 5 points of Southern. They put up 30 points against Southern. You're like, all right. Well, they put up nearly 20 to Texas Southern's 23 earlier this year. And they scored, 3 touchdowns, against Alabama. This team can score. It's who Jackson State has to play that next week. That's why I'm going to say you got to watch out. This is one of the games in this list you're going to, I'm going to say watch out. Because it's not who you're playing this week. It's who you got to play the next week. And are you caught looking through that curtain, looking to that next week and forget something? Because I'll be the first to say, we talking about, no, this Valley team can score some points. The problem with them is, can they stop anybody? And, their defense is, they're allowing 30 points on average a game. But you got a new quarterback. They should, by all stretch of the mean, be able to assert their will. But I think the danger, the risk is Jackson State is peeping into that curtain to see what's in the next week and that next week in terms of their matchup. That's the only watch out. So I won't go, we talking Valley, not this week.
Charles, all the years that you've been telling these folks to watch out for Valley has finally worked. It has finally worked. They said, I can't believe it. We can't get Mike to say Valley for nothing. 80 Drew stretched himself in a knot. They all believe in Charles. What Charles said, hey, he plays hard.
I just got one question.
Yeah.
Mike and I essentially had the same argument. Yeah. Why the hell is the chat killing me and not killing Mike and me at the same time? All y'all Jackson State people in the chat. Come on. Me and Mike had the same argument. Come on, Jackson State.
And let me help y'all.
I'll set him up to do it.
Let me help y'all out. TC Taylor is not looking ahead to Bethune-Cookman, but he knows he's been a part of
but
this.
When people say look ahead, they never talk about the coaches. Coaches do not look ahead. I will say this. We've had enough experience with young folks.
Yeah.
You can tell young folks whatever you want.
Yeah.
And they gonna have their mind wherever they want to. We done seen it many times before where you get out in the game and you be like, man, where have these players been? And you think you had their attention and all that kind of stuff. So players are players. Folks, when they make the comments, they're not talking about the coach. All right, go to the next match. Next one is number 5, Prairie A&M, the Panthers 6-3-4-1. They had Alabama A&M Bulldogs. Tough loss. You taking a long trip. A&M Bulldogs at times find to play really well, particularly at home. Is there any concern? No. No, I can't say you on this. All right. We'll move on to the next matchup. Number 10 and South Carolina State. Y'all don't believe in South Carolina State Bulldogs, so this may be a little more interesting than you think. Now, Howard has to go on the road. They've been able to have some big games, 4-5, 1-1. South Carolina State, the Bulldogs, 6-3-2-0. Anybody have the Howard Bison in this match?
I believe less in Howard than I do in South Carolina State.
Okay.
Yeah, but the only one, this is another one I said, look at who South Carolina State has to play after this. They got to play North Carolina Central and Delaware State. Do they, again, be caught? And I agree. I don't know what Howard amounts to. I don't know what team Howard's going to. Is it, the Howard that's really good on the rushing, has a strong defense, or is it that Howard, that other Howard? But look at who South Carolina State has, and you can say all you want to that the coaches don't look at, but players are players. These are the 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old men. Do they look past this Howard and start looking at Central and looking at Delaware State, who they have after Howard? That's my only watch out here. That's the other watch out. Hey, watch out.
Charles?
Yeah, Howard just doesn't score enough. So I have to go with South Carolina State at home. Howard's only averaging 18 points a game.
Yeah, they struggle scoring.
Yeah.
They can move the ball at times, but, man, it really gets crazy when they get in the scoring position. They cannot crack that notch. The other thing is senior day for the Bulldogs. So you think they focus, this is their last home game, and they certainly want to go out right, and they're chasing championship. And they want to get back to, we don't think about this, but they made it to the Celebration Bowl, and they didn't get it done. They want to find a way to get back there and right this wrong. And we've seen how Jackson State did that from when they went there 2 straight years. When they finally got back, they were able to knock down that door. Next matchup. Delaware State Hornets and Morgan State Bears.
Trap.
Another one.
Trap.
So we got the trap games this week. People
another one.
The trap
game.
Talking about Atlanta and the trap. It works out this week for real. Delaware State Hornets and Morgan State Bears, 6-3-2-0, 3-6, 0-2. 2 of the 3 say it's a trap game, so we'll move forward. Let's get into the next match. Norfolk State Spartans 1-8, 0-2 at North Carolina Central, 6-3, 1-1. Can I say you on the trap, or are you good moving forward with this one?
Good moving forward.
Move on.
This is the one that's intriguing. Number 8, Bethune-Cookman Wildcats 5-4, 4-1. They're at number 7, Grambling State Tigers 6-3, 3-2. Always a tough place to play. Eddie Robinson G Stadium there for the Grambling Tigers, and they're pretty well. Got away with it this week in terms of having quarterback. He has another game on his back when you talk about the backup coming in and getting all the momentum. I do want us to break down this matchup, so I'm gonna start with you, AD Drew. What's your thoughts? 7 versus 8.
Another one of those teams that we're looking at with possible quarterback scenarios, a team that could be good. Uh, if we knew that their starting quarterback was going to be healthy, it's a team that we would give a lot more praise to. But this pains me, Dr. Cavil. The fact that I am giving Bethune-Cookman that much credit, that I am not calling them the school on the beach, that I'm actually calling them by their name, going back all the way back to Mary McLeod Bethune. Where's my cup at? Because I'm trying to get this Bethune Kool-Aid, but for some reason I can't find a cup right now. I'm ready to sip the Bethune Kool-Aid, Dr. Kabir. I am ready to sip it, but just don't have the sugar in it quite yet. If they win this game, I am definitely sipping the Bethune-Cookman Kool-Aid.
Mike?
I once again, I'm with AD on this one. I'm not ready to drink out of the fountain of Bethune pom-poms and strawberries and whatever. I hadn't seen enough of them. Can Cameron Ransom, the quarterback for Bethune, this is a big game. We're going to see if they can win this game. And Cameron Ransom has a good game. Was it Ali Scott and the other gentleman, Kamani Robinson, they running back by committee, if they can put together a game. But here's the deal. Bethune is allowing 30 points per game on defense. So the question to me is not their offense, it's their defense. Grambling, at best, is number 3, 4 in the SWAC in offense. They've gone back up. I'm going from week 2 to week 4. They've bounced back. They're only at about 24 points per game. But the thing to me is not their offense, led by Cameron Ransom, the quarterback, but can they stop this Grambling defense? That's the question for me. But I'm gonna err by a slight margin on the side of Bethune.
I feel you, Mike, but I agree with the Bethune-Cookman's defense is tough, but you're talking about the backup quarterback. That was with T-Set. We just saw yesterday with Grambling at home struggle to score against the Bulldogs.
That's my point.
Yeah.
Right?
I was going right there with you, Doc, in terms of I just don't see enough scoring for Grambling. I think that's the big issue. Underrated stat with regards to Bethune-Cookman for all the prowess we talk about them throwing football, that third and SWAC and rushing football. The stat for me in this game, can Grambling stop Bethune-Cookman from running the football? If they can do that and kind of muck the game up, they get after the quarterback. They lead the SWAC in sacks.
Yes,
they do. That's going to be the ability to do that. Fascinating when you look at that matchup in terms of what to look at. Let's scroll down and give the last couple of games that are outside the top 10. We won't talk about them, but I just want to acknowledge them. Southern the Braves, obviously a big time rivalry game. The way the Braves are playing, and better yet, saying the way the Southern Jaguars are not playing. I don't see much going on in this matchup, but which means Braves can get to 500 in terms of conference play. That's
be a hell of a halftime show.
Yeah, where they were. Next game, I'm not playing with Charles. He is having one of them days. Rattlers against the Golden Lions. Somebody gets to right the ship a little bit. FAMU takes the long road trip. I think this is the last of the games that we have. So with that being said, let me give you your final thoughts before we do our close in terms of how are you feeling, AD Drew?
3 of our current top 7 teams, Dr. Cavil, have questions at the signal caller position due to injury. It's going to be intriguing down the stretch. And, the month of November, Dr. Cavil, when we think about it historically, this upcoming weekend in the month of November is when we always see the crazy stuff happen. This is always the weekend where that team who you did not expect to be able to pull off a W pulls off a W where you get that unranked team against a ranked team. It is something about this week, year in and year out. I'm not saying which game it's going to be, but when we come back to this show next Sunday, none of us should be surprised if we're sitting up here talking about 1, 2, 3 upsets and how this has really shook up the polls and the races in our two respective conferences. It always happens this week.
Charles, good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're a fan of Jackson State, I think for a lot of employers around Jackson, you won't have a disgruntled employee this week. So that's huge. That's going to be huge. But just kind of taking a look around the landscape of everything. And you touched on it, Doc. I think South Carolina State is just quietly doing what they do. Like I said, all the lights on Delaware State right now. But be careful. Watch out for Chinny Spirit and those Bulldogs in out there.
Yeah, I love it. You absolutely right. Mike, what are your final thoughts?
Yeah. There's a lot of talk about, South Carolina State and how quiet. We know what they can do. But give credit to Delaware State and what they've done as well. They wouldn't be the strong North Carolina Central team. Nobody was talking to them at the beginning, and I'm happy to see them in the hunt for the first time in a long, long time. The second thing is we are talking about the West. Remember, we went to the season. It's all about the East. The beast is in the East. It's going to be Alabama State. It's going to be Jackson State. Somebody out the East is going. Did we think that we'd be at least at this point talking about the potential or how strong players in the West and not the ones that we thought would be at the top of the West? I keep reminding us of that, where we were in July of this year. And now we're talking about Grambling, even though with an injury. Now we're talking about Texas Southern, how strong they could be. They have a loss against Alcorn. We're talking about Prairie View, lost 3 points to Alabama State. But I think there's a different conversation now happening in the West. They're not probably the beast is still in the East, but there's a whole different conversation in the West that we're having now than we had at the very beginning of the year or thought we'd have.
And Southern is not in that conversation. That's probably
exactly.
the one thing
that we thought would be in that conversation are not in that conversation.
Yes.
I want to bring your attention to the fact that the entire top 7 list all have 6 wins.
Yep.
We're in a very strong position to have 7, 8 teams end up with 8 wins. I think that is a good thing for HBCU sports when you talk about 21 FCS programs and 8 of them potentially coming out with 8 or more wins. So it'll be interesting. That's something I'm going to be keeping my eyes on over the next 3-4 weeks to see, can you get that type of threshold going down the stretch. So great points, great show today. Thank you for listening inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. I did want to throw a bone to the mid-major. Albany continues, and that's Albany State, the Golden Rams.
Hold up home field for the championship game.
Yep. Already.
Credit to them locking that up. Be interested, can they go ahead and close the deal? And while Virginia Union is getting it done in the CIAA, I do want to give a plug for Johnson C. Smith. We saw what happened last year as they faltered. This year they refused. They're 1 game away to getting back to be able to do the next step, which is play for a conference championship where they were right there on the door last year. I want to give a specific shout out to a lot of the Division II programs, Kentucky State in terms of the run that they're on, and AD Drew, Stephen A. Gaither has given us great updates in terms of looking at the mid-major. So I want to give them a special shout out. We'll take a deeper dive on Tuesday. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Mike, stop eating that candy. With Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock standard time.
Yeah, are you gonna call me? Yeah, it ain't Mike this time. This time.
Sunday at 9 a.m. We look forward to next week as we discuss the latest news in the lab. We know you celebrate Halloween with the kids in the neighborhood, and they get some of their candy, so you wouldn't have to give it all out. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, on Threads, Facebook, and Instagram. It's DrKenyattacavil. I done scared Mike so much he didn't freeze. Facebook, and that's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Facebook, Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on YouTube. Dream big, continue to move forward. Charles,
Of course.
AD,
Lecture.
Mike, dismissed.
Dismissed.
Travel like.